Yes.
So there will be 4 witnesses today, the first of whom is Mr. Adrian Jurgens Besson.
Yes. Okay.
May he take the affirmation.
He will do the affirmation?
Yes.
Okay. Let's administer the affirmation.
Please state your full name for the record.
Adrian Jurgens Besson.
Do you have any objections to making the affirmation?
No, Dad.
Do you solemnly affirm that all the evidence you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If you do, please raise your right hand and say, I do affirm.
I do affirm.
Yes, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Besson, your present employment?
Chair, I am the Editor-in-Chief of News 24.
You have a document in front of you. Would you go to page 6, please?
Yes, Chair.
Just above the named opponent, whose signature is that?
That is my signature.
And the statement or affidavit from pages 1 to 6, together with an annexure at pages 7 to 9, is that your affidavit?
That's correct.
Are you satisfied that its contents are true and correct?
That's correct.
Chair, for the record, this affidavit remains in bundle T, and it's been marked T6. Exhibit T, T6.
Oh, yes, I've got it.
When did you start your career in journalism?
Chair, I started my career in journalism in 2003 as a crime reporter for Beeld newspaper in Johannesburg.
And since then, have you occupied a number of positions in the journalist profession?
That is correct.
Amongst those, you mentioned them in paragraph 4.
Chair, before I became editor of News 24, I was also an assistant editor of City Press newspaper. I was also the editor-in-chief of Beeld newspaper, as well as the editor of Netwerk 24, which is the Afrikaans news website.
Now, we know, both from our general knowledge and from evidence led here, that there is much you can tell this commission, but for present purposes, there are 2 aspects which you will deal with, and those aspects relate to personal threats and what you have regarded as intimidation in regard to your professional work.
That's correct.
In 2006, did you have occasion to publish articles concerning the Bosasa group of companies?
That is correct, Chair. I was working at Beeld newspaper at the time, and together with my colleague Karim du Plessis, who was working for the Burger newspaper at the time, that is a sister newspaper of Beeld, we started investigating the Bosasa group of companies after numerous allegations were leveled at the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee of Correctional Services about this company that had suddenly received an avalanche of tenders from the Correctional Services Department.
And then between mid-2007 and September 2010, did your investigative work continue?
Correct, Chair. I was then employed by the Mail and Guardian newspaper. I worked as an investigative journalist on the Mail and Guardian, later as part of the Mail and Guardian Center for Investigative Journalism, that's today better known as Amabungane. And I continued my investigations into Bosasa in this period.
Now, during the time that you were employed by the Mail and Guardian, And whilst you were doing the work, about which there'll be more detail in a moment, did you receive threats?
That's correct, Chair.
And the purpose of these threats, what was your conclusion?
Chair, there were 2 episodes of threats which we will go into detail now, but the only purpose I could deduce at the time and still believe is to stop me writing about Bosasa.
Right, and you say then in paragraph 9 that you will refer to 2 groups or episodes of threats. If we can go for a moment to paragraph 11 to provide some background to these 2 episodes. In January 2009, did you have occasion to publish a particular article or series of articles in regard to Bosasa?
Yes, Chair. I was privileged to have been leaked a series of emails from within the Bosasa group in the previous year, and had worked for months through these emails to find evidence of wrongdoing that I could publish. I finally, in January 2009, whilst being employed as an investigative journalist by the Mail and Guardian, published an article that was earlier referred to in this commission. It was headlined, "Here's the Proof, Minister," after an advertisement was placed in Sunday newspapers by the
Okay, well, I guess
As
I
we
need
may
to
continue.
Okay, yeah.
You say that the article was published under the headline, "Here's the Proof, Minister."
That's correct, Chair. I managed to conclude my investigation at the time when the department spent a lot of money on advertising, claiming that they are fighting corruption in the department. We could prove the contrary. And I then proceeded to publish evidence of from this email, a tranche of email that I received, showing inter alia that the company was in fact involved in writing the tender specifications of tenders they were later awarded by the Department of Correctional Services.
We've heard the phrase metadata often. Please just explain what that term means and how that concept is relevant to these articles.
Chair, after being leaked the tranche of emails by my source, during my employment at Beeld and at the Mail and Guardian, involved the services of forensic experts to firstly verify the legitimacy of the emails, to confirm that they were indeed from Bosasa's computers, and secondly, confirm or verify the date stamps of these emails and leaked documents. Obviously, the timeline is of utter importance when you try to prove that a tender document was either in their possession or created by them before the tender was advertised. So that information, the creator of the document, the name of the creator of the document, the date stamps, etc., are all referred to as metadata.
And did the metadata confirm the veracity of the information you published?
That's correct.
It's a long article. It's been dealt with in detail before this commission, and it's a matter of record, so we needn't go there for the moment, save to say in summary perhaps, to what extent did that article implicate Bosasa in wrongdoing?
Chair, it was definitely one of, in the journalistic profession, we often refer to a smoking gun, that we look for a smoking gun. We don't often find smoking guns. It's often a matter of circumstantial evidence of bits of pieces of information from sources and documents. But this was a smoking gun. This was real proof of the company's, the level of access, and I guess what we call now state capture of Bosasa, of that specific State Department.
If we can go back then to the outcome or consequences of the publication of this article. Subsequent to the publication of the article in January 2009, you refer to threats would you detail those? You begin in paragraph 10, and I just need to confirm the incidents you refer to in paragraph 10, did those occur subsequent to the publication of the January 2009 article?
Chair, it's a long time ago, but that is my best recollection, that that article specifically caused discomfort and anger at the Bosasa group, and that both these episodes followed after that publication.
Okay.
Definitely while I was employed by the Mail and Guardian.
Right. You refer to the first group of threats in paragraph 10. Would you tell the Chair, please, what occurred?
Chair, there was a period during that time when I started receiving calls on my cellular phone. These calls, there was a lot of these calls. They came during the day and night, early hours of the morning. Sometimes the calls came from a number that was visible on my phone. I remember still saving these numbers after the calls, using terms like Bosasa Angry 1, Bosasa Angry 2. And there were also unknown numbers, so I couldn't see the number of the caller, and then also some landlines. The purpose of these calls, or the message of these calls, were always a person claiming that they are a Bosasa employee, and then saying to me that I, Adrian, are threatening their jobs, that I will cause them to lose their jobs, that I must stop my writing, I must stop my reportage on Bosasa, and there were also some of the callers, I remember quite vividly, accusing me of racism, that I was only doing these articles because I'm white and I'm a racist. There were a number of these calls, and it was definitely during a specific period. I clearly remember that I blocked some of these numbers, obviously not to receive the calls from them again. It was obviously upsetting and perturbing receiving these calls late at night or in the early hours of the morning. Also profanities used during some of these calls. If I may say, Chair, some of the calls, for example, said, I must stop my shit, I must stop writing shit about Bosasa. And so it was really a kind of aggressive tone from the callers that made it very clear that I am endangering their livelihoods and should stop this nonsense.
And what was your reaction when receiving these calls? And I refer specifically to your reaction to the content of the calls.
Chair, I think if you become a journalist, it comes with the territory that you will have to grow thick skin. I had a thinner skin then. It was 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago. But it was upsetting. I tried to explain to these callers what the purpose of a journalist is in society and what I was trying to do with my investigations into corruption, that ultimately the poor of the country are the main victims of corruption, specifically by this company then. But it was upsetting. It made me feel threatened. I didn't know. I knew that this company obviously had lots of tenders in correctional services and other security areas, so I didn't know to what extent they would actually go to threaten me. It was upsetting, it was perturbing to hear these calls.
Did you receive, and we're not asking you to disclose your sources, but did you receive any information from your sources in regard to how your number had been distributed?
Yes, Chair. I, at that stage, had cultivated a number of sources within the Bosasa group. I asked a specific source about these calls, and it was confirmed to me that my cell phone number had been distributed in the group to employees, and that employees were tasked to call me and threaten me. And the name of one specific director was named.
Now, you've explained to the legal team why you don't wish to mention the name of the director. It's a decision ultimately that the chair will make, whether to ask you or not. But would you give your reasons, please?
Chair, in the journalistic information gathering process, you sometimes receive information, but I believe, and it's common practice, that you have to corroborate every piece of information with either a second source or a piece of documentary evidence. I had not yet done that. I don't have corroboration for what my one source told me who the director was that instructed, that was specifically central to distributing my cell phone number, and that's why I wouldn't be comfortable in disclosing it.
It may be the subject of further investigation and perhaps preferable to look for corroboration for the witnesses' evidence. Thank you, Chair. The identifiable numbers for this first group of telephone calls, did you save them?
Chair, those numbers that I could see on my phone, I did save them. I checked up and yes, I saved them with names like Bosasa Angry 1, Bosasa Angry 2, just to identify them for myself.
And I understand that you still have these numbers and you are willing to assist the investigators in this regard.
That's correct, Chair.
In paragraph 17 of your affidavit, Mr. Basson, you deal with what you refer to as the second episode. Please tell the Chair about that second episode.
Chair, in February 2009, she's now my wife, she was then, I think, my girlfriend, and myself were on holiday, and I remember us driving at night when I received a phone call from a visible number, but it wasn't a number that I had saved on my phone. The person on the other side of the line was a woman who didn't introduce herself by name, but said that she was a colleague or somehow involved in the media, and that she wanted to warn me about my investigations into Bosasa. I was driving and I had my phone on speakerphone, and she then proceeded to attempt to convince me that she's helping me by saying things like, it's very dangerous what she's doing, what I'm doing. There's a much bigger story behind the Bosasa investigation. And then she interrupted herself continuously by saying to me, I just need to make sure that I'm talking to the right person, and I just need to make sure that I can trust you. Are you Adrian Basson with ID number? Do you live at this address? Are these your friends? And are these your family members? And she proceeded to read a quite accurate list of names of friends and family members. Do your friends and your family members, do they do these professions? Are they lawyers? Are they engineers, etc.? Chair, she also, it was clear to me at that point of our conversation that she was reading from some kind of what I would refer as an intelligence document, that some intelligence was done on me, and that the real purpose of the call was not to help me, but to scare me. She proceeded to tell me how dangerous Bosasa was, how scared I must be, that I'm very brave for a young man, was some of her quotes. Some of the other personal information, Chair, that I can remember she disclosed to me was my place of birth, for example, continuously saying, are you sure you were born here in this town? She also had study records of mine, of my tertiary studies, where I studied, what I studied. And it was clear to me that this information was obtained through some kind of intelligence operation. I kept her talking. It was interesting to hear what she had to say. But after the telephone call of about 18 to 19 minutes, I said to her, look, I will phone you when I get back to Johannesburg, where I was living at the time, and try and set up a meeting. Again, Chair, I was perturbed by the call. The fact that someone knew all this personal information about me, knew about my family members, where I stayed, where they stayed, what I studied, where I was born, what my ID number was. I then, on advice of my clever wife, went home and put in the cell phone number from which she called just into a Google search. So I just literally went onto Google and typed in the number.
Before you go there,
Sorry.
Just two brief questions, if I may. You know best of the context of the call, its content. What did you conclude about the purpose of the call?
Chair, my conclusion was that this was a Bosasa operation to intimidate and scare me.
And were you warned not to speak to anybody about the conversation?
Indeed, Chair. She warned me with words like, "I will kill you if you tell anyone about our conversation." Now, if I speak to, it's not the type of language I would use, but I know that people sometimes use that phrase jokingly. It was not jokingly at all. It was in a context of a much larger, longer conversation, very ominous type of language, even the tone of her voice, very hush, trying to supposedly help me.
All right. Then you say that you conducted a Google search?
Yes, Chair, and to my surprise, I quickly found out the identity of the caller, someone by the name of Benedicta Dube. She was by then a public relations consultant for a company called Igagu Media, which I think I referred to in my affidavit. I didn't know Ms. Dube. I think I may have heard of her by then. But I quickly established that she was, in fact, a journalist. She used to work for reputable publications like the Financial Mail and at ETV before. But that she was now in public relations.
And when you say now, you mean at the time of the call in January 2009?
Correct, Chair.
Right. There has been evidence of this person receiving instructions from Bosasa, Chair, and that will be dealt with later in submissions before you. Did you receive further information? And Chair, this information is hearsay, but it does corroborate evidence already given.
Okay.
So just tell the Chair of your conclusion in relation to the telephone call and its purpose, and what you subsequently learnt.
Chair, as I mentioned earlier, I had by then a range of sources inside the Bosasa group, and one of my sources at the time told me, when I told the source about Ms. Benedicta Dube, confirmed to me that she was indeed on the company's payroll and had been consulted on me.
Right. If you would go to page 7 after the green divider, Chair, of the affidavit and annexures.
Yes.
Exhibit T6. You will see there an article under the heading, "Very Brave for a Young Man." What was the reason for this article, and when did it happen? And to which incident does it relate?
Chair, at the time there were quite a number of cases in South Africa where journalists were being targeted by either rogue private intelligence services or rogue state intelligence operatives. I was working at the Mail and Guardian at the time, and we then published a series called Spy Nation, which dealt with all these occurrences where journalists were being spied on. The call by Benedicta Dube that I just relied to, Chair, was the subject of this article that I published in the Mail and Guardian on the 22nd of May 2009.
On page 9, that's the third page of the article reads, in reference to you, "I'm convinced her motives were never to caution, but rather to intimidate. The Mail and Guardian's lawyer wrote to Bosasa and Igagu Media, where Dube is Group Executive Media and Publishing, on May 6, demanding an immediate return of all my personal information in their possession. Bosasa's lawyer denied the company had acted in an unlawful manner as alleged or at all, and said Dube's information falls within the public domain. Igagu Media did not respond. Dube claims she doesn't recall our conversation and that she doesn't work for Igagu anymore. She accused the Mail and Guardian of blackmail journalism." That was the conclusion of that episode, at least as far as that article is concerned. Am I correct?
That's correct, Chair.
Right. The information that was related to you over that 17-minute period of the telephone call you've referred to, Did that information all fall within the public domain?
No, Chair. I, as an investigative journalist myself, we make use of a plethora of public sources to find information for our own investigations. And, the detail of the information she had, for example, the addresses of where I've lived or the occupations and names of my friends and family, that's not something you can Google.
Just one more matter, please, Mr. Basson. A video clip was played before the chair of the commission during the evidence of Mr. Agrizi. You are aware of that clip?
I am.
The soundtrack, if one listens carefully, mentions a person called Adrian, and as the legal team recalls, there is reference there to Adrian having visited Angelo Agrizi with his, that is Adrian's family. Would you like to comment on the truth of that allegation?
Chair, I had heard the clip a few months ago and was very upset when I heard it because it's completely false. I have never taken my children on work meetings and will never do. In fact, at the time, I only had one baby child. Chair, I did have one meeting with Mr. Agrizi at his house after hearing that he had turned on Bosasa and was now going to spill the beans. That is obviously news that makes journalists happy because we always want more information. And I made an appointment to see him at his house, had a meeting. I went there on my own. I had a meeting with him on my own where I attempted to extract information from Mr. Agrizi for purposes of further investigating Bosasa.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Basson.
Thank you, Mr. Basson. He can be released for now, or he might come back later, or just released.
Well, he may be asked to come back later.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Basson. You are excused for now, and if you are needed, we will ask you to come back.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. You are excused.
The next witness is Mr. Gregory John Lawrence. He's just being called from the waiting area.
Okay. Thank you. And his affidavit.
His statement, his affidavit, together with annexures, is, I stress, Chair, with apologies, Exhibit U. It's incorrectly marked Volume U. That will be dealt with.
Well, I thought also there was enough space for it and the annexures in this one, so we might not unnecessarily increase the number of liver arch files.
Yes, Chair, it was a judgment call made. We didn't quite know the volume at the stage we decided to separate the bundles, but you're correct, Chair, it could have gone into, and perhaps we can still do that, Chair.
Yes, maybe we should still do that, and therefore you might deal with it on the basis that it's part of Exhibit T.
So, Chair, this will then be a little out of sequence, but it will be Exhibit T9.
T9.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
And then the references to exhibits will have to be amended accordingly, but that will be done and placed in the file, and I'll try to refer to the corrected number on the transcript.
Okay, thank you. You may administer the oath or affirmation.
Okay. Yeah, I am religious.
Please state your full name for the record.
Gregory John Lawrence.
Do you have any objections to taking the prescribed oath?
No.
Do you consider the prescribed oath binding on your conscience?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? If you do, please raise your right hand and say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lawrence, the bundle before you we will refer to as bundle T9. Would you go please to page 9 of T9?
Yeah.
Whose signature is that above the words G.J. Lawrence?
That's mine.
The document from page 1 to 9, whose affidavit is that?
Mine?
Are you satisfied that the contents are true and correct?
Yes.
Are you aware, Mr. Lawrence, that some, at least, of the contents may implicate you in improper or even unlawful activities?
Yes.
Nevertheless, do you give your evidence freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
And have you been offered any incentive or
No.
reward?
No.
You are currently the managing director of a business called AfriTrade Distributors.
Yes.
In 1993, did you begin employment with or under a person by the name of Greg Lacan Allen?
Yes.
That's LACON-ALLIN.
Yes.
What business was he conducting at the time?
Catering.
And the name of the business?
At the time was Grantham's Integrated Food Services.
Grantham's, Granthams.
Yes.
And to what post were you appointed?
As a catering manager
Where?
at Impala Platinum Mines.
In 1996, did you place an advertisement in the media for the employment of an assistant catering manager at Impala Platinum Mines?
Yes.
Right. Who applied for the job and who was appointed?
Angela Agrisi.
Right. Then you speak in paragraph 4 of a fallout with Mr. Agrisi. It's clear from your evidence that there's no love lost between yourself and Mr. Agrisi.
Not at all.
But as I understand it, and we needn't go into too much detail, you say that Mr. Agrisi set you up by informing your superiors that you were inflating prices and overcharging clients.
That's my belief, yes.
Were you subjected to a disciplinary inquiry?
Yes.
Was it an internal disciplinary
Yes.
inquiry? How long did that inquiry last?
If I remember correctly, a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Was documentary evidence led at that inquiry?
I can't remember. It was such a long time ago.
And what was the outcome of the inquiry?
I was dismissed.
In 2003, did you commence employment with a company supplying meat products to the mining industry?
Yes, I did.
And in about 2004, did you then go into the business of supplying food products into Africa?
Yes, I did.
And were you in fact a 25% shareholder in a company by the name of Intrepid Foods Pty Limited?
Yes.
Right. In paragraph 6, you go into some detail in regard to your employment background. It's not necessary to detail that for the purposes of your evidence, your oral evidence at least. It's there on the record.
Sure.
But you became experienced in two spheres as a result of your work experience from 2004 onwards.
Yeah.
In what fields did you gain experience?
Well, the supplying into the SADC countries in Africa.
Supplying what?
Food products being maize, long life milk, oil.
Right. So you were involved in the export market.
Yes.
In relation to foodstuffs.
Yes.
Any other aspect of the export market in which you became involved and experienced?
Yes, into alcohol.
And is it the same business, the export of alcohol
Yes.
to foreign countries
Yes,
in the
it is.
Southern African region?
Yes.
Did you join Mr. Greg Laken Allen's company subsequent to 2004?
Yes.
Just want to check, because in paragraph 2 you say you started working for a person by the name of Greg Laken Allen in about 1993. Was that in a different capacity in a different company?
Yes, it was Grantham's Integrated Food Services first, and then into...
Right. The company that you joined after 2004, what was its name?
Equal Trade 4.
Equal Trade 4, the Figure 4 Pty Limited.
Yes.
Where was that company based?
In Natal.
But where did you work yourself?
I worked from my house. I've got an office at my place.
And what were your duties?
To continue looking after the clientele that I brought, to supply alcohol and other food stuff, as I was doing prior to joining up with Greg in that period.
Right. Now, your clients, perhaps I used the word export business incorrectly. Your clients who wished to purchase alcohol, were they in the Southern African region when they received their consignments, or did they come into South Africa for that purpose?
They would come in and the transport would be arranged for them to take their product into Africa.
And how would payment be made?
Payment would be made in two ways, either in cash or an EFT.
And what was the approximate ratio or proportion
I would
of
say
cash payments as against EFT payments?
Cash payments around about 60% and EFT 40%.
And how much cash on average would you receive per consignment in relation to each order?
On alcohol, it would range from around about 1.1 million to 2.5 million.
Did the business do well?
Okay.
What was the consequence of any growth in the business?
Well, the company, Greg Laken Allen's company, there was a cash problem in the company. We couldn't grow the company because of cash flow. Greg's other side of the business required a lot of money as well, where he was supplying into the mining industry, and Greg's company would only get paid 30 days after statement. So with my side of the business increasing on a monthly basis, we needed more cash in order for me to fulfill my clients' orders.
Well, you would have to pay up front for the alcohol,
Yes.
which was to be purchased.
Yes.
And for that purpose, you say you needed cash.
Yeah.
And that cash had to be paid out before you received payment in.
Yes.
How did you address this problem in the business?
Well, I approached people I knew that could assist me for a fee to help me fund the business so that I could purchase alcohol. So for a small fee, I would loan money on a short-term basis and then pay them back their money plus the small fee that was negotiated. For
You
loaning.
would borrow money on a short-term basis?
Yes.
Now, if you received cash in the course of your business and you then deposited into the company's bank account, was there a fee chargeable?
Yes, there was 1.5, between 1.5 and 1.8%, if I remember correctly.
Cash deposit fee?
Fee, yes.
That the bank charged your business?
Yes.
And did you, in fact, in the beginning of the business's history, deposit the cash in the bank?
Yes, it was one of the biggest costs to our business.
One of the biggest costs was the cash deposit fee?
Yeah.
Was a new arrangement proposed to you around 2012?
Yes.
Who proposed the arrangement?
I was told by Greg Lake and Allen that instead of taking the money to the bank and being charged the fee that we were charged, that I could take the cash to Bosasa.
Right. When you say Bosasa, could you be a bit more specific? Bosasa where?
Bosasa, their head office is in Krugersdorp, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure on the physical address.
Did he explain the background to this arrangement and its implications?
No, not really.
Well, did he say what you had to do?
All he said to me is once I'd got a certain amount of money from my clients to take it to Bosasa, and they would take it from us and we would be paid back, so that I didn't have to go to the bank and deposit the money. For me, it was a cost saving to the alcohol side of the business instead of taking it to the banks.
When you say the arrangement was that you would be paid back, what do you mean?
Well, the money would come for the cash that I was giving through to Bosasa, we would be paid back via Bosasa, via EFT.
Was there any other benefit that you would receive?
No.
Was there any commission?
There would be commission. Obviously, instead of us paying the 1.5 or 1.8% to the banks, that would be a start. But I wasn't included in the negotiations with Bosasa on what percentage would be paid for us taking the cash to them.
It's important that the questions that I ask are clear, and that the answer is equally accurate and clear.
Sure.
Do you know whether any commission was payable for the transaction of handing cash to Bosasa?
Yes, there was, but what amount, I'm not sure.
Okay. What was the relationship between, you say in your statement, Greg, but I presume you mean his business, and Bosasa at the time? Did they have a business relationship other than this cash?
Yes, as far as I know, yes. Greg Lake and Allen's company, Equal Trade 4, was a supplier of foodstuff to Bosasa.
Right. And you know for what purpose these foodstuffs were provided?
I would say, knowing the industry that I come from and working for Greg, it would be food products that were delivered to the contracts that Bosasa had, which was negotiated with Greg, being prisons, being mining, the mining industry.
Right. You do say in your statement, as you have just told the Chair, that Bosasa had apparently agreed to pay you a percentage of the total amount of cash delivered as a commission, which was negotiated with Greg, but you were unaware of the percentage and you weren't part of those discussions or arrangements.
That's correct.
Were you given any detail in regard to the delivery? For example, the person to whom delivery was to be made?
Yes, I was told there was a person that once I had enough cash to take through, I had to contact the person, which unfortunately I've forgotten what his name is, but I would contact this person and let him know that I have sufficient funds, and then I would make arrangement with him to meet him at a certain time at Bosasa's head office.
Right. This person to whom you were told to make the deliveries, does his image appear on a video which we're about to show the Chair?
Yes.
In paragraph 12, if you would look at it please, you describe to the Commission how the scheme worked and how your instructions to deliver cash to the Bosasa head office in Krugersdorp was carried out. Would you tell the Chair, please, of that information?
I hope I'm getting it correct, Chair. I would notify either Greg Lake and Allen or notify the person that I was dealing with at Bosasa that I had a certain amount, and it normally was pretty much a large amount of money because that's what the business entailed. I would notify them that I have the cash available, and I would make arrangements for what time and where I would meet him. Sometimes it would be at Bosasa. On a few occasions it was outside Bosasa because it was over a weekend or something like that, and I'd make the arrangements, and I would either the way I would receive the money from my clients would be the way that I would deliver the money to the person that I was dealing with at Bosasa, and every time I had enough money I would make contact.
What amounts are we talking about, more or less?
Like I said earlier, is that it would vary, and it's such a long time ago. I can't exactly remember how much, but for me, I didn't really want to sit with a lot of money in cash with myself. So as soon as I pretty much got to a figure of anywhere, I would say maybe 500,000 rand, I would contact him and make arrangement for me to meet him and take the money across to him.
So would you be able to say maybe that although it's a long time ago, you know that it would never have been less than 100,000 rand
yes.
at any point of time?
Yes.
Are you able to give a much closer estimate of what the lowest amount may have been or
I would
have been?
Most probably saying maybe 200,000.
Okay, but normally it would be above that.
Yes, normally.
And what's the highest amount you can remember that you might have had at any one stage?
I might have, if I remember correctly, maybe 800 or 1,000,000 rand.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Are you able to estimate in total how much money over the period of time you were involved in this arrangement you would have delivered to Bosasa?
I wish I could, but I really can't.
Right, going back to the physical arrangements involved in your execution of this arrangement, Mr. Lawrence, when you received money, what did you do with the money and how did you deliver it and how was the money packed?
I would wait until I obviously had a sufficient amount of money gathered by my clients, and I would then make contact, and the money would come either in boxes or plastic bags, depending which client it was and how I received it from them, and pretty much exactly the way I received it from my clients I would take through to Bosasa. But like I said, it would be, I would pretty much have a large amount before I...
How was a record kept of these deliveries and their amounts in particular?
Well, there was no record kept by me. I'm quite sure that the record was kept by Greg Lake and Allen and Bosasa. I would never know. At times there would be a little bit of money short that I delivered, but it was a few hundred rands that was short.
At the time the money was received by you, and then in particular at the time you delivered it, did you see any documentation such as orders, invoices? Eventually,
after a while, after it actually came to an end, I got documentation which I can only say that was sent to me by error.
Right. We'll come to that in a moment, and you've annexed the documentation that you received. But up until then, did you see was there any documentation that accompanied these deliveries?
No.
Right. For how long did this practice last?
I really can't remember how long it lasted for.
Was it weeks, months, years?
I would say months it carried on for. I really can't remember for how long it carried on for.
Were there difficulties experienced in execution of the arrangement and its outcome for Mr. Lake and Allen's company?
Sorry,
Well, did Mr. Lake and Allen start telling you that the arrangement and its fruits for his company were changing?
Yes, there was. He had said to me that Bosasa eventually said that they didn't need any more cash, and that this cash arrangement, that deal that we had on the table with them, was coming to an end.
Was it a profitable arrangement for your company,
Well, just
the company for whom you worked?
just by saving the 1.5% instead of delivering the money to the bank. As I said earlier, it was quite a large amount of money that we paid to the banks for delivering cash to the banks. So just on that alone was a saving to me.
Yes. But in addition, you've told the chair that you received a commission.
Yes, it would be through Bosasa
Yes.
that we would receive. What the amount was, or what the negotiated amount was, I don't know. I wasn't part and parcel of it.
Did you ask yourself any questions about what you were doing?
Yeah, I did, because, like I said, you asked me a question earlier, my feelings towards Angela, and I just know that the amount of money that was delivered to them, they're not a bank, there must have been something or some underhanded business that was going on.
Did you know anything at the time, or were you...
I had suspicions.
What were your suspicions?
That they were using it for something that was underhanded. No one would want that amount of money on a regular basis, the amount that I was giving. No one would want to just use it for their personal use. So, and the rumor about Bosasa in the industry was that they bribed.
And despite this knowledge, you continued with this practice and this arrangement?
Yes.
So it will become apparent from the evidence that you're about to lead now that at a stage you started to video record the delivery of cash to Bosasa.
Yes.
Why did you do that?
If you ask me why didn't I do it right from the beginning or right until the end, I can't remember when I filmed it. I just did it because I thought that this was wrong, number one, what I was doing, and I just did it to maybe protect myself, or if there was going to be an outcome out of it, or something. For what reason specifically, I don't know why I did it.
Perhaps the reason is less relevant than the fact that you actually did record.
Yes.
These visits, or some of these visits, to the Bosasa head office and the delivery of cash there.
Yeah.
How did you record these incidents?
I recorded them on my phone.
Chair, once again that term crops up, metadata. There will be evidence in relation to both the location and the dates on which these films were recorded, but for the present we're going to ask our technician to play the video recordings. Before we do so, however, from the recordings you know that a number of still shots were taken.
Yes.
These aren't individual photographs, but still shots taken from the video recording.
Yes.
Would you look at Annexure A, please? On page 10 of your affidavit.
Yeah.
What is this document?
That's photos that I took of the cash that was delivered to Bosasa.
The counter notes on
Yep.
top of at least 3 of those bundles.
Yeah.
Apparent, if you look carefully, that counter notes were on top of all the bundles. What were those?
I was surprised that, well, that's the way I received them from my clients, and obviously marked to say how much and where the money had come from.
Yes. And if you look at Annexure B
Yeah.
on page 11, is that a close-up of one of those counter notes?
Yes.
And one will see a date there, 5 March, but the year is obscured.
Yeah.
Do you know more or less the year in which this incident occurred?
I think it
Or
was
the photograph was taken, rather.
I think it was 2013.
And then on page 12, Annexure C, what is that?
That's one of the boxes that I would receive the cash in, closed.
Right. And is the box here being opened?
Yes.
Annexure D on page 13,
That's the box being opened.
Is it the same box we saw in Annexure C,
I
or
think
is
so,
it a different
Chair.
one?
I think so, Chair.
It's the same.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
if you look carefully at the side of the box, you will see yellow tape, blue tape,
Yeah.
and a cross. Those are the same on pages 12 and 13.
Yes.
Appears to be the same box.
Yeah.
Who's the person opening the box?
It's the person that came with me in the vehicle, Jason.
Right. And why did you have a person with you in the vehicle?
Well, number one was driving around with so much cash in my car, pretty much for protection.
And then on page 14, once again, is this the same box? Can you recall?
Yes, I think it is.
Right. And what do you see in the box?
100 Rand notes.
That's Annexure E
Yeah.
on page 14 of the bundle.
Yeah.
And a similar photograph or still shot of the video appears on page 15 as Annexure F.
Yes.
We needn't go to Annexure G. That seems simply to be another shot of the same box on page 16. Page 17, what do we see on this page, Annexure H?
And more 100 Rand notes in bundles.
In a box.
In a box, yeah.
And the same is visible on page 18, Annexure J, and page 19, Annexure K,
Yeah.
where one sees 2 boxes of cash.
Yeah.
On page 20, Annexure L, what does that show?
That's more cash received, but just in a plastic bag.
And Annexure M,
Same thing.
page 21, Annexure M, you say that those are plastic bags containing cash. Can you recall that?
Yes.
And then on page 22, Annexure N, appears to be bundles of what appear to be 200 Rand notes.
Yep.
Are these still pictures, part of the videos that we're going to show?
Yeah, it will be, yes.
And apart from the pictures, do you have an independent recollection of these images?
Yeah.
Are we ready to show? Right. Exhibit U21 on page 5 of your affidavit is referred to in paragraph 17.14. For the record now, Chair, this will be exhibit T9 1.
You said I must first go to paragraph 17.
17.14, please. The exhibit that is now to be shown, it won't be U21, it'll be T91. Page 5 of the affidavit, Chair.
Or paragraph 17.14.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, so what did you say about the exhibit?
It's marked here as Exhibit U21. We have, under your direction, Chair, changed bundle U to bundle T9.
Oh, okay, that's now, so this will be now be T9.
T9, 1. T9.1.
9.1. And then the rest will follow.
The rest will follow, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
And then I don't have to
Yes.
mention each one. But
Yes.
I'll try and do it. Anyway. It's not a long video clip. What I suggest we do is play the whole video clip. If there's any point at which there is evidence of the presence of a Bosasa employee and a container being handed over, you can ask our technician to stop the video at that stage, but we will be going to still images in any event arising out of this particular video. So may we play the video from beginning to end. I must forewarn, Chair, it's not as clear as other videos, but there are certain scenes or images on the video that corroborate the witness's evidence.
Thank you.
So without any comment, can we play this? Stop there. That image, please tell the Chair about that, please.
That is an image once we received our bag back that we'd put money into. We'd received it back and we were about to leave. So the money...
Who is the person on the left-hand side carrying the bag or container?
That's the person that came with me pretty much for protection, carrying so much cash.
Your security person?
Yeah, well, yeah.
The person on the right?
Is the person that we used to give the cash to.
So on this occasion, on more than one occasion?
No, on more than one occasion.
Right. Do you recall this particular delivery?
Yes, I do. It was a
What
Saturday.
stands out for you? When did it occur and what stands out for you?
I know it was a Saturday morning because the person that we were giving the cash had just been for a cycle. And I remember the Saturday morning.
And that car on the right, we'll see a clearer image of it in due course. Whose car is that?
I think it's his. He got into it.
So what would be the process? Would you have all the time a bag there in which you put the money, which you would use to deliver the money, and you would take the bag back? Or was the position that sometimes that's what you would do, but sometimes you would deliver the money in bags, in boxes or bags that you did not need to take back?
Chair, on this specific occasion, this was from one of the clients that I used to get money from, and this is the way this specific client would give me the money. He would give it to me in that bag there. On other occasions, it would be plastic bags, and other occasions, it would be boxes.
Yes. And when you had delivered the money, you would need to bring the bag back?
Yeah.
Yes, but would you pass it on to the client or not really?
I would take the bag back so that I could give it to my client so that he could fill it up again and give it back to me. Then it was pretty much that's the way it would work with this specific client and that specific bag.
Okay, but did you say that there were also deliveries which were not, where the money was not put in bags that you had to take back? Maybe the money was in boxes?
No, it was in boxes and in bags, but
yes.
I would just take it like that and I would hand it over to the gentleman at Bosasa.
If it was in a box?
Yes.
Yes, you didn't have to take
exactly the way I got it is how I hand it over.
Yes. Okay, all right. Thank you.
Where is this incident occurring?
At Bosasa head office.
Continue, please. Stop.
Thank you. And so for example, this chair is sound. This chair is sound.
Stop there, please. Who is that person?
I cannot recall his name, but it was the person that I handed over the cash to on every occasion.
Is this the person that you would contact
yes.
in order to arrange a delivery?
Yes.
And the person to whom you gave cash on each occasion?
Yes.
And you understood, did you, that he was employed by whom?
Bosasa.
So, throughout the period during which you were engaged in these transactions, is this the only person at Bosasa that you dealt with?
Only person ever.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
We've asked you questions in this line before, and perhaps you could try and recollect over the short adjournment. But on how many occasions would you have delivered money in this fashion?
If I could remember, I would tell you, but I really cannot remember that.
Could you estimate? Is it once, twice, 10 times, 50 times?
10, 20 times.
And that would be over what period, if you remember?
Yeah, that's the problem. I'm struggling to remember. It was for a period of time, and how long it lasted for, Chair, I really can't remember.
But just in terms of ballparks, could it have been within 1 year?
Oh yes, definitely.
Oh, okay, not over a number of years.
No, not numbers.
Yes, maybe over.
Maybe a little. I can't.
A little bit into the second year or something.
It could have, but it also. Maybe less, if
yes.
So, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yes, no, but at least that gives some idea. It's not something that happened over 5 years.
No,
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Okay, all right. And this might be difficult, but if you are able to help, you must please do so.
Sure.
Do you have an estimate of about how much in total you had delivered, how much cash you had delivered to Bosasa when you finished these transactions at the end of the period during which you were involved?
As I said, my transactions, Chair, that when I would sell a load, it would be anywhere between 1.1 and 2.5 million. And so I would say it was quite a few million rand that was delivered to Bosasa, but the exact amount I cannot recall.
No, thank you.
If one goes to page 59, one sees a transcription marked Exhibit U2.2. That exhibit number appears on page 58, in fact, and that will be Exhibit T9.2, Chair. So on page 58, if we could mark that T9.2, and on page 59 is a transcript of
Yes.
And the transcript reads on page 59, on line 7, person 1 says, "At least you had a cycle this morning." Does that coincide with your own recollection of the events of that morning?
Yes.
You described to the chair that the person to whom money was handed had cycling shorts on.
Yes.
If one goes back to paragraph 17.16, Exhibit T 9.3 deals with a number of screenshots, still images from the video. You know that from your preparatory work.
Page which?
If you go paragraph 17.16 on page 5.
Okay, yes.
There's reference there to Exhibit U2.3. That should now change to Exhibit T9.3. You see that?
Yeah.
And those, can you confirm that that exhibit, if one goes to page 60, are still shots of the video we've just seen, and which we will perhaps deal with after the short adjournment, Chair.
Okay, we'll have the short tea adjournment and we'll resume at 11:30.
Okay, thank you.
We adjourn.
recall this particular image?
That was the vehicle that the person that I gave the money to got into. Not sure if it's his vehicle, but that's pretty much the vehicle he was driving that specific day.
Yes. On page 61, we will insert exhibit numbers in the transcript in due course, Chair.
Thank you.
But I'm hesitant to do it now in case the sequencing is incorrect.
Yes, okay.
Who is that person that appears on that screenshot?
That's the person that would always come with me when I delivered cash because I was carrying so much cash, an associate.
On page 62, you see a shot of the rear view mirror.
Yes.
And an image. Is that image in the rear view mirror?
Yes, that's the image of me with my phone.
Right. And is that the phone you used to take the pictures or the video that you referred to in evidence?
Yes, I did.
63 is a screenshot of the parking lot, and on the right-hand side, you see an image of two persons. What is happening there? And again, from your own recollection.
That's us receiving the bag back that we had given over to the Bosasa person, receiving the bag back.
Similar shot appears on page 64.
Yeah.
There is a clearer shot on page 65 that seems to be the same image as the image where we stopped the video. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And that is of a taller man handing over a bag to your security man.
Yeah, associate security guard.
Page 66.
I'm sorry, is the taller man your contact person
At Bosasa,
Bosasa?
yes. Yes, Chair.
Okay.
Yes, and you can see the cycling shorts more clearly on page 66 and page 67. Images of the same two people.
Yes.
There is a clearer image of the person we've now referred to as your contact person in Bosasa on page 68, page 69, and page 70.
That's correct.
Then on page 71 and 72, there are further clear images.
That's correct.
On page 73, there is another clear image of the car to which reference has been made, the white Volkswagen vehicle with registration number BC27VVGP, and your Bosasa contact person dressed in cycling gear.
That's correct.
We needn't then go any further. Perhaps we could go to exhibit T9-2.
What page is that?
Well, Chair, I was
Are you
informed
back
during
at
the short
paragraph 17?
adjournment of...
Are you back at paragraph 17?
We're on page 5 of the statement, paragraph 17.17.
Okay.
Reference is made there to a second video clip. If I may, I'm going to refer to the old numbering because a suggested sequence of numbering to now change it is going to be too complex and
Okay, all right.
difficult. So let's just deal with what is referred to in your statement as Exhibit U31. That's a second video clip. Once again, we will play it. If it's possible to stop it at any particular point, we will do so. But we will also deal with the transcript of the soundtrack and certain screenshots. But perhaps before we go there, if I could take you to page 59. That's the transcript of the first video.
Is it page 89?
59, Chair. 59.
Thank you.
There's a reference there to person 1, person 2, and person 3. Can you say, from your recollection of the conversation that took place on that occasion, who is person 1?
I think it would be the Bosasa person.
Well, look at line 7, where person 1 appears to have said at least you.
No, that would be me then. That would be me.
We must try not to speak at the same time because the record then will be confused.
Apologize.
So person 1 is who?
Yes.
Is you.
Yes.
And person 1 says 2/3 down the page, exactly, exactly, 900, all right, Butti, we'll see you most probably next week again. Person 2, we will. That is an answer to a question asked by person 1. Now, Jay, how much is in there? Can you explain what is being talked about there, please?
On that specific one where it says exactly 900, all right, Butti, that means that we will be bringing more money next week.
And 900?
I'm not 100% sure what it meant.
900,000?
It could be 900,000.
Well, that's you speaking. You say you recollect the event.
Yeah, if it was 900, then I most probably was saying 900,000 rand.
Namely, the cash that you were bringing on that day.
Yeah, or it would be, Chair, it would be on the next week's delivery would be 900,000. That would be delivered.
Yeah, but isn't the question how much is in there? The 2 lines before that, and then there's indistinct, and then person 1, exactly, 900.
Chair, if I go to that specific one and it says, we'll see you most probably next week again, that would most probably me saying to him, that's pretty much how much I'm planning on bringing to him the next week.
Despite the how much is in there?
I'm not sure.
My impression when you see, you said you are person 1.
Correct.
Then somewhere in the middle of the page it says, I don't know whether that's now J or now Yay, how much is in there? That seems to be a question.
That would be, Chair, that would be the money that was delivered to him.
On that day?
On that day, then.
Yeah,
yes,
that's what I was trying to get, yeah. Okay, all right.
Right. Let's go then to the second video clip for present purposes, exhibit U31.
Where's that box, Jay? Just bring it here and put it on your piece up. Okay? Well, just open it there quickly.
Stop there, please. What's happening here?
That's me, us opening a box where the money was in, and I filmed it.
Whose car?
My car.
And on what occasion?
When you say what occasion?
Yes, I mean, there's a box of money in your car, and you are filming it. When? And in relation to what operation?
That was filmed in Bosasa's parking lot, and it was money that was about to be handed over to the person that I was dealing with.
And to whom are you speaking in the transcript?
Jason, my colleague that was with me pretty much for protection with driving so much.
So he knew you were taking these video clips or video shots?
Yes.
Did the Bosasa employee know?
No, not at all.
Carry on, please.
See, nothing's flashing if I put that to that. No, who's holding it?
Those officers that one has just seen on the video, where is that?
Bosasa.
Carry on, please. Stop there, please. Can you go back a frame, please? Stop there. What is happening there?
That's me filming.
And that camera, is that your BlackBerry camera?
That's correct.
Or your BlackBerry cell phone?
Correct.
Carry on, please. Right. Do you recall that incident from your own memory?
Yeah, pretty much, yes.
What happened? From your own memory?
We arrived there. I'd already made arrangements to meet up with the person that I was dealing at Bosasa. And
The same person?
Same person, only person I ever met.
Yes. Carry on.
And we were going to deliver the cash that we were filming, deliver it to that person from Bosasa and hand it over to him.
Yes. There's no shot, however, of any person to whom cash is being handed.
There is, and I think in the next video clip, but not on specifically that one.
Is the next video clip of the same occasion? Or is it of a different occasion?
It could have been a different occasion because the money came out of the back of the boot.
One goes to page 75, one sees there the reference to the video clip as Exhibit U3.1, and that's the video clip referred to in paragraph 17.17 of your statement.
Yep.
But please go to page 77. That is the transcript, according to the transcriber of that video clip. Person 1 is recorded as saying, "Where's that box? Jay, just bring it here and put it here so I can film it." Who says that?
Myself.
Person 2 says, "Okay," and person 1 again, you say, "Well, just open it there quickly, see if nothing's flashing if I point that at you." What's happening there?
That's me filming with my BlackBerry, and I wasn't quite sure if you were looking from the other side to the phone that there would something be flashing so that the person that we were handing the cash to would be aware that we're actually filming it.
And then if one goes to page 79, you will see what appears to be cash. Is that the cash in the box which we've just seen on the video?
That's correct.
And then page 80, is that the box?
That's correct.
That has been seen on the video?
That's correct.
There's some writing on the box. What is that writing?
It's Equal Trade 4.
And please remind the chair, what is that entity?
That's the company I was working for.
And then page 81 is more video clips of money. Page 82 is a screenshot of a person. You can't see his head, but you can see his shirt. Who is that?
That's the person that was with me delivering the cash.
A clearer picture on page 83.
That's correct.
On page 88, what does that picture show?
'88 is me with my BlackBerry.
And then if one goes to page 90, you will recall on the video you see a person walking past across the line of vision of the video. Correct?
Correct?
Right. Do you know who that person is on page 90?
No idea.
That shirt, that blue shirt, do you recognize that shirt?
Not that I recognize, but I think it was a denim shirt.
Right. There has been evidence about blue shirts at the Bosasa head office, but it's not necessary to trouble you with that. Can we then go to the third video that is referred to in paragraph 17.20 as exhibit U41? Once again, can we play it through? If we need to stop, we'll stop, and I'll ask you to identify.
I did, bro. So they're not keeping you in that bad... No, they just now told us they're on the way to the office with more. So this is no. It's... I think...
Just go back, please, to that. Stop there, please. One sees in that screenshot a rear view mirror and the elbow of a person presumably sitting in that vehicle. Correct?
Correct.
Do you have a personal recollection of this incident?
Yes, it was me filming Jason handing over the box of money to the Bosasa.
And you were filming by using the rear view mirror?
That's correct.
Right.
Is the name Jason for the same person that has been referred to as Jay in some of the transcripts?
That's correct.
And that was the person that you took along for protection, as you say?
Pretty much he carries a weapon.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
And the other person visible in the rear view mirror?
That's the Bosasa contact that I had the dealings with.
Is that the same person as has appeared in the first video we showed?
That's correct.
Right, he's wearing a blue shirt with rolled up sleeves, and he is standing with a box. What does that box contain, or what does it represent?
Cash that we were delivering.
Let's carry on, please.
I think... How are you tomorrow? No, I'm just worried of keeping, you know what, I'm just worried of keeping it. I don't have a safe at work. 100%. I'll give you a call in the morning. Thanks, sir. Have a good one. Bye.
If one goes back to page 93, one will have seen on the video a conversation taking place between a certain person and the contact person in Bosasa to whom you've referred now on several occasions. Correct?
Correct.
Who is the person speaking to the Bosasa person?
Would be my Bosasa contact.
No. Who is speaking to the Bosasa contact?
Myself.
And it appears from the transcript and from what we heard that arrangements were being made. For example, you say 100%, I'll give you a call in the morning. What does that refer to?
Refer to me collecting more cash and me going to make arrangements with him when to deliver the next load of cash.
If one goes to page 106, one sees a still screenshot from the video. Who is the person in the blue shirt?
That's the Bosasa contact.
And the person on the right-hand side in the black shirt?
Is Jason that would assist me with, or coming with me to Bosasa to
And
deliver
what
the
is
cash.
the person in the blue shirt holding?
A box of cash.
And on page 103, in the rearview mirror, what is the scene shown there?
That's the box of cash being handed over
By whom to whom?
from Jason to the Bosasa contact.
Are you able to say that your Bosasa contact knew what these transactions were about?
Chair, the negotiations weren't between me and Bosasa, it was between the company I was working for and them, so I had no idea what the arrangement was between them.
Yes, no, so what I mean is you obviously had interactions with him over a certain period of time when you delivered cash.
Yes, Chair.
So during those times, those occasions, was there never a time when the two of you discussed what these deliveries of cash were about?
No, never, sir. Never, Chair.
Okay.
Right. We're going now to a different part of your evidence, which commences at paragraph 18. You've told the Chair that after a period, you're not sure how long that period was, deliveries under your control and deliveries by you stopped.
That's correct.
Do you know of any delivery that happened after you stopped making deliveries, a delivery of cash?
Yes.
You say in paragraph 18 that after the period during which you were involved in making deliveries, you received an email.
That's correct.
Tell the Chair about the circumstances under which you received the email, from whom you received the email, and the contents of the email and what that signified to you, please.
Chair, it was an email that I received from the person that I was delivering the cash to at Bosasa. And I was quite surprised because the cash deliveries had stopped approximately for around about a month. It had stopped. I then received an email, and I presume it is because the only contacts I ever had with anyone in Bosasa was this specific person that I was delivering the cash to. That he sent an email, and the email was sent to me by mistake.
Yes.
I received it, and I didn't really have the time. And I remember it correctly, I didn't have the time to have a look at it. I wasn't really concerned about it. I honestly thought it was meant for Greg, Lake and Allen. And I had a bit of time the one day, which I started going through the email, and then I realized that I felt that the cash delivery had continued because if it had stopped, why would this be sent to Greg me? And I assumed that it was done in error, not being sent to me, Greg Lawrence, but being sent to Greg Lake, and it should have gone to him. I then had time to study it, and I approached Greg Lake and Allen about it, and he had said to me that there was another delivery that happened, and that's what it was about. And after this delivery, or after this email that I received, the cash dealings had come to an end.
All right. Let's take that step by step, if we may, please, Mr. Lawrence.
Sure.
You had ceased making deliveries.
That's correct.
After that, you received what you described is an email in error from the Bosasa person with whom you had had contact.
That's correct.
You examined the content of the emails, and we'll come to that in a moment. Correct?
Correct.
In particular, the documents attached to the email.
Correct.
You confronted Mr. Greg Laken Allen
Correct.
with the documentation.
That's correct.
And Mr. Laken Allen said to you, did he, that these documents related to a further cash delivery made by someone other than yourself?
That's correct.
Did you conclude then that these documents were directly related to the further cash delivery?
I felt so.
All right, well, let's look at them. On page 23 to page 55, sorry, page 56 are a number of documents. Can you identify these documents in relation to the email and attachments you received?
Yes, the first page, page 23, is a summary of goods that were delivered to different units that Bosasa had, and there's a total. And thereafter, on each of on the summary that there are pretty much not invoices, I would say purchase orders that were sent for the value of the summary on the page 23, and it's purchase orders for the total amount that's on the summary sheet.
Yes, purchase orders for the amount of 2,240,753 rand 87 cents.
That's correct.
And the summary reflects the documents which follow from page 24 to page 56.
That's correct.
Let's first have a look at what these documents are. They are all dated 16 July 2013.
That's correct.
That is apparent from the foot of each of those documents to which we've just referred. And in
I
the
assume you are excluding page 23.
No, Chair, I'm about to get there if I may.
Oh, okay.
On page 23 in the left-hand column, the summary of these documents to which we've just referred has a date.
That's correct.
That date is also the 16th of July 2013.
That's correct.
So it appears that purchase orders to the amount of 2,240,753 rand 87 cents were created or issued on the 16th of July 2013.
Correct.
That date 16 July 2013 appears on all the purchase orders.
Correct.
It's apparent, and let's go to page 24 because we're not going to go through all these purchase orders, but the first purchase order is headed exactly that. It's headed Purchase Order, Bosasa Supply Chain Management Pty Limited, and it has a number.
That's correct.
800740. And then there are a number of items that are reflected on the purchase order. Amongst those items are mealie meal, samp, beans, rice, eggs large, and sunfoil. Do you see that?
Correct.
Now, evidence has been given, Chair, by Mr. Agrizi in relation to how the cash operation with Equal Trade worked, and the purchase orders were referred to him in evidence. Do you know anything about how the operation then would have worked? The purchase order, when in relation to a cash delivery, do you understand it would have been issued?
To be honest with you, I don't know how this would be or how it would get to be drawn up. Or I had, like I said earlier, I had no influence, or I wasn't part and parcel of the negotiations.
All you know is what you were told by Mr. Greg Lake and Allen,
Pretty much, yes.
that these documents had a relationship of sorts. You don't understand exactly how.
That's correct.
With a cash delivery.
That's the way I took it, because number one, why was it sent to me? And I was delivering cash prior to it, and then I approached Greg about it, and I assumed that Greg's explanation to me was is that this was part and parcel of how they would.
All right, we needn't go further with you, save to confirm that when you confronted Mr. Greg Leighton Allen with the documentation contained in the annexures to your statement, he immediately related that to a cash delivery.
That's correct.
Right. Were you able to glean from the email the name of the person who sent it, the sender?
It could have only been from the person that I was dealing with Bosasa. He would be the only person with my email address that I ever had dealings with at Bosasa.
And that is the person whose name you've forgotten?
That's correct.
Where is that covering email which would show the name of the sender?
I cannot find it.
The explanation for your contact with the sender of the email and your later engagement with Greg Lake and Allen concerning the email and its attachments is dealt with in paragraphs 21 to 23 of your affidavit on page 8. Do you see that?
Yes.
Is there anything you wish to add over and above your explanation that you've just given to the chair?
No.
Do you know whether, for the period at least that you delivered cash to Bosasa, whether anyone else from your company or Greg Lake and Allen's company ever delivered cash to Bosasa?
Not that I'm aware of.
So you are the only person of whom you are aware that delivered money.
That's correct.
To Bosasa.
That's correct.
And you know of at least one cash delivery, at least second hand, that was made after you stopped delivering cash.
That's correct.
Anything else? How did these documents relating to the email and attachments come to be printed?
I printed them.
When?
Pretty much maybe a week after I received them, and I just kept them. I printed them because I approached Greg with them.
So you showed these same documents that appear in the annexures to your affidavit to Greg Lake and Allen, and it was on the basis of those documents that he gave you an explanation involving a cash delivery.
That's correct.
In relation to your telephone, and I'm talking of the telephone that took the videos to which we've referred, do you still have that telephone in your possession?
No, I don't.
But I presume that if the investigators need to conduct any further investigation regarding your evidence, you'd be happy to cooperate with them.
Yes.
Chair, that is the evidence.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lawrence, for coming to give your evidence. If it becomes necessary at a later stage to ask you to come back, you will be contacted. But thank you, and you are excused.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think we could take a 5-minute adjournment before the next witness, if that's fine with you. You are calling the witness from outside.
No, it's, the
Is
witness is here, but
okay.
it is indeed fine, Chair.
Okay.
Grateful for the adjournment.
Okay. We'll take a 10-minute adjournment. We'll resume at 20 past. We adjourn.
Thank you, Chair.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Mic check. Yeah.
1, 2, 1, 2, mic check. 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, mic check. 1, 2.
1, 2. Mic check. 1, 2. Hello?
At 1, sorry.
One, two, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Bishop.
Yes, Mr. Pretorius.
The next witness is Frank Kennan Dutton.
Yes. Will you administer the oath? I think it's the oath.
Please state your full name for the record.
Frank Kennan Dutton.
Do you have any objections to taking the prescribed oath?
No, I don't.
Do you consider the oath to be binding on your conscience?
I do.
Do you swear that the evidence that you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If you do, please raise your right hand and say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Pretorius.
Mr. Dutton, you are an investigator employed by the State Capture Commission.
That is correct.
You are the lead investigator dealing with, amongst other matters, the Bosasa investigation.
That is correct.
You testified to an affidavit that was referred to prior to Mr. Agrizzi giving evidence. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
This is a separate affidavit dealing with a particular matter which will become apparent in due course.
Yes.
If you would look at page 3 of Exhibit T7,
Yes.
whose signature is that?
That is my signature.
And the affidavit at pages 1 to 3, is that your affidavit?
That is correct.
Are the contents true and correct?
They are.
The topic with which you are concerned in this affidavit is the incident to which Mr. Agrizzi testified that took place in the Sheraton Hotel in Pretoria.
That is correct.
And we know that evidence was given by Mr. Agrizzi of a meeting on the 6th, and I think he might have said 6th or 7th floor of that hotel, where he took certain photographs of documents.
That is correct.
You have conducted an investigation in relation to the evidence of Mr. Agrizzi in that respect.
Yes, I have.
Before you deal with your investigation, what information was given to you by Mr. Agrizzi in your dealings with him prior to him giving evidence? And you deal with that in paragraphs 3 and 4 of your statement.
Yes, I met Mr. Agrizzi at his home on the 18th of December 2018 at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And during this visit, he displayed on his laptop screen a series of photographs of documents which he said he had taken at the Sheraton Hotel. The photographs appeared to be confidential SAPS ACTT documents.
What do those letters stand for?
The Anti-Corruption Task Team.
Right.
And they related to the progress of the police criminal investigation into corruption allegations against Bosasa. Agrizzi explained to me that Dudu Mjeni had shown him a file of these documents at the Sheraton Hotel, and that he had managed to photograph some of the documents using his iPhone. Mr. Agrizzi further described the layout of the 6th floor of the Sheraton Hotel, and where he alleged the meeting between himself and Dudu Mjeni and Mr. Gavin Watson had occurred. And that was the place where he had taken the photographs of the documents. He described this area as a restricted lounge and dining area where access was controlled. he said that he had met with Myeni in an alcove to the left of the lifts as you exit the lifts.
Did Mr. Agriti tell you when these photographs were taken?
I asked him to look at the data on his computer, and he gave me the date of the 23rd of September 2015.
Did he hand over to you copies of these photographs?
He copied these photographs onto a memory stick and handed them over, not to me, but to Johan Hirschling, who was a member of the digital forensic team of the Commission.
Did you examine the photographs after they had been printed?
After the photographs had been printed, I examined them, and I noted that on the edge of some of the photographs there was a pattern, and it looked to me as if it was a pattern of a carpet. And that made sense to me because it would seem to me that Mr. Agrisi may have put the document onto the carpet and then photographed it.
All right, let's look at the annexures to your affidavit. Page 4 of Exhibit T7 is a photograph of a document.
Yes, that's correct.
What were you told about this document? It's headed ACTT Monthly Progress and Audit Report. It's been referred to in evidence already.
Yes.
But just to place this document in its context, please.
Well, it appears that the documents and the series of photographs dealt with the ACTT Monthly Progress and Audit Report that was put in by the police.
And the subject matter of these monthly reports
was the Bosasa investigation.
The Bosasa investigation. Would you look at page 6, please?
Sorry? Yes?
Just above the document photographed here, what is visible?
Above the photograph, well, that's where you can see what appears to be a carpet, a pattern carpet.
Then would you go to page 9?
Page 9, yes.
What do you see there above the photograph?
I'm sorry, am I on the right page? The 9 at the bottom of the document?
Sorry, not above the photograph, above the document in the photograph. Page 9.
I think the 9 is at the top right corner.
Top right-hand corner.
No, I see the same pattern.
The carpet pattern.
The carpet pattern.
And there's a clearer picture. Well, there's another image on page 14 of Exhibit T7. A photograph, but at the top of the photograph, above the document being photographed.
Yes, and there's the same pattern of apparently a carpet.
And then on page 18, what do you see? Again, above the document being photographed, in the photograph though.
That's correct, and above the document and also going down slightly on the right-hand side, the same carpet or the same pattern.
Right. Having seen these photographs, what did you then do?
I decided to visit the Sheraton Hotel and to see whether I was able to match the pattern that appears in these photographs with the carpet on the 6th floor.
Right. Did you visit the Sheraton Hotel then?
I visited the Sheraton Hotel on the 21st of December 2018.
We should just insert the year there, 2018, in paragraph 9. Chair.
That's correct.
On page 2 of your affidavit. Please tell the Chair what you saw.
I was accompanied by a security person from the hotel, and we went up to the 6th floor, and I noted that the 6th floor is restricted, that you need to put a card, your room card, into the reader in the lift to allow the lift to stop on the 6th floor. On exiting the lift, I saw that in front of me there was a dining and refreshment area and a lounge in front of the lifts. So unlike the lower floors, where when you exit the lift, there isn't a full floor, but just a passageway, and you can then look down into the foyer of the hotel. On the 6th floor, that isn't the case. It's a dining area. I then turned left from the lifts, as Mr. Greasy had explained, and I found that between the lifts and the far wall, there was an alcove where there was a lounge suite where people could sit and meet. I then observed the carpet, and I compared it to the photographs that we've just looked at now, and I found that they matched.
Right, before we go to the photographs and understand what the photographs depict, your own observations, what conclusion did they allow you to draw?
Well, that the photographs were taken on that floor as described by Mr. Greasy.
Right. Did you take a photograph of the carpet?
Yes, I did. I took a photograph to demonstrate.
Is that the photograph that appears on page 20 of the annexures to your statement T7?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. Just an initial observation, the photographs of the documents which show portions of the carpet seem different, at least in color, from the photograph on page 20. Do you have any comment to make in that regard?
In fact, the colors are not different. I think that this color has come up lighter because I used a flash.
Right. So you said you drew the conclusion after comparing what appears like the carpet on the pictures that Mr. Greasy took and the carpet that you found on the 6th floor at Sheraton Hotel. You said you drew the conclusion that that must be the same carpet that where Mr. Greasy took the pictures.
Yes, that is correct.
And you would say that if they haven't changed that carpet, anyone who would go there and compare would be bound to reach the same conclusion?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Your further investigations are dealt with on page 3 of your statement. Chair, for the moment, we are leading this evidence in the form that it is being led, but to the extent necessary, either the original affidavits to which the witness now refers will be handed over, if required by law enforcement agencies, as evidence for their use, or we will deal with it directly in due course in this forum.
Okay.
But this is evidence in a summary form.
Yes.
If you go to page 13, you say in that, say page 3, paragraph 13, you say there that the Commission issued a request for information to the manager of the Sheraton Hotel, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And a member of the investigation team visited the hotel and interviewed the general manager.
And in summary, what were you told? And what was recorded in the affidavit? And we'll go to the affidavit in a moment.
I was told that on the 23rd of September, and in fact the previous night, the 22nd, the 23rd, Dudu Umyeni had been a guest of the Sheraton Hotel, and she had been accommodated in room 616.
Right, if you would go to page 21 of it, Exhibit T7. you will see there what appears to be a handwritten affidavit of one Pascal Fouquet, Fouquet.
That is correct.
And it's apparent from page 25 that this handwritten document was in fact an affidavit, or is in fact an affidavit.
Yes, that is correct.
If you go to, and if necessary, the person may be called Chair.
Yes, it is an affidavit of the person to whom you have just referred, namely Pascal, did you say Fouquet?
Fouquet.
Yes. Thank you.
If you go to page 22, paragraph 5 of that very affidavit, it reads, I can confirm that once again through hotel records, she booked in on 22 September 2015, and what we can see from the invoice that there were no more transactions after the 24th of September 2015. We can therefore deduce that she booked out on that date. The account, however, was only settled on 5 October 2018. Find the invoice attached here to as Annexure PF3, and we'll come to that in a moment.
That's correct.
The affidavit continues, when scrutinizing and interrogating the invoice, I can see that she booked the Mapani boardroom on the 7th floor of the hotel. Although it is dated 24 September 2015, she could have used it on one of the days before this while she was staying there. There was some confusion in the mind of Mr. Agrizzi as to whether this meeting took place.
It says while she was staying here.
While she was staying here, yes, I'm sorry, Chair. As to whether it was the 6th or the 7th floor where the meeting took place. Can you comment?
I didn't do any investigation on the 7th floor, but Mr. Agrizzi told me emphatically that it was the 6th floor.
Right.
I think at the hearing he also said 6th floor.
Yes, he did mention 7 at one stage, but
oh, okay.
You were told the 6th floor.
When I interviewed Mr. Agrizzi, he told me the 6th floor.
The 6th and 7th floor, are they similar in any respect?
I can't comment about the 7th floor, but they are both in the restricted area of the hotel. I think that the manager makes it quite clear that she was accommodated in room 616, and the boardroom that he refers to is probably on the 7th floor.
Okay. Thank you.
Then on page 24, once again the same affidavit at paragraph 15, the deponent says, I attach a customer registration card copy as per Annexure PF7. It must be noted that there is a handwritten entry on top of this card stating, quote, account or ACC Jacob Zuma Foundation, unquote, with presumably a contact person of Nicole, Nicole. The account for Ms. Mieni's stay was paid from an FNB account of Nicholas Stone. It appears that Ms. Mieni's signature...
I think it's is it not Nicole Stone?
Nicola Stone.
Nicola Stone.
Yes, Chair.
Or is it Nicole?
That is correct. We'll get to the annexure in due
Okay.
course, where the name appears. It appears on page 36, but we'll get there in a moment, Chair. It's in fact Stone, S-O-S-T-O-N-E.
Yeah, I thought it was. Okay.
It appears, continues the affidavit, that Ms. Mieni's signature as appears on the bottom of the membership card.
Or is it as appended?
Yes, you're correct, Chair. It's not clear, but
yes,
that's correct. I attach notification of payment of Ms. Mieni's account by Nicholas Stone as per Annexure PF8.
Yes.
He then says on page 24, paragraph 16, Colonel Heap. Who's Colonel Heap?
Colonel Heap is a member of our investigation team, and he is the person that recorded this affidavit.
And he's available to give evidence.
He's
obviously, if
available to
necessary.
give evidence.
Yes, it reads, Colonel Heap has shown me a document titled ACTT Monthly Progress and Audit Report, attached as per Annexure PF9. That is the document which appears on page 38 of your bundle, which shows the carpet pattern at the top of the page.
That's correct.
The affidavit continues to read in paragraph 16, I have scrutinized the document and can say that the pattern is the same as the carpets in the hotel as that in the photo seen behind the actual document.
Yes.
Then he refers to an error in his statement. At the beginning of his statement, he said that Ms. Mieni paid for the account personally. He corrects himself in paragraph 17 to say that a Ms. Nicola Stone paid.
That's correct.
Right. And you've established who Ms. Nicola Stone is. Who is she?
Ms. Nicola Stone is from a travel agent in either Richards Bay or Impangeni.
What appears on pages 29 and following are documents related apparently to the stay in the hotel and referred to in the affidavit to which we've just referred, correct?
Page 39.
From page 29?
29,
onwards.
Yes. That's correct.
If you would go, please, to page 35. It's been obscured a little by the writing in the top right-hand corner.
Yes.
What is this document? Page 35, I'm sorry.
Page 35.
What is this document?
Well, this is a registration document from the Sheraton Hotel of a guest.
And it refers in the square part, which presumably represents the card, to Ms. Dudu Mieni.
Yes, that's correct.
What is the writing at the top of the page?
There's a note on the very top of the page which reads ACC, presumably account, Jacob Zuma Foundation, and then there's a little arrow that goes down to Nicole.
And over the page, on page 36,
yes,
appears to be a notification of payment on an FNB letterhead.
That is correct.
And the payer details are recorded here as Nicola Stone.
That's correct.
And you say she's an estate agent, according to your investigation in
yes.
Not estate agent, travel agent.
Sorry, travel agent.
A travel agent, yes.
If you would go then to paragraph 14, and once again, this is the investigation which can later be confirmed by direct evidence, but it's as well to put on record now, Chair, for the sake of completeness.
That's in order.
What did your investigations result in you learning in relation to the documents that appear in the photographs annexed to your affidavit and annexed to Mr. Agrizi's affidavit?
We have shown these, the photographs of this document to both General Moodley and to Senior State Advocate M. de Kock, who was originally the prosecutor assigned to this matter. And they have both told us that the documents appear to be an ACTT progress report dated the 24th of August 2015. As yet, we have not been able to find the original document. We're still looking for it, and we will obtain it, and then we will be able to do a proper comparison.
When you refer to document, are you referring to a bundle of documents?
Yes.
And was anything said about whether these documents were publicly available or confidential or otherwise?
The documents are not available publicly. They are confidential documents for correspondence between the police and the NPA.
Did Mr. Agrisi surrender his iPhone to the Commission?
Yes. If I could explain, the memory stick didn't contain the metadata of the photographs. It was blank. So when Mr. Agrisi had completed his evidence, he voluntarily handed over his iPhone, and in his presence, the experts from our digital forensic team conducted an examination of the iPhone, and they found the file where the photographs had originally been recorded.
Now, once again, direct evidence or evidence on affidavit from those investigators can be produced in due course, but for the present, you have possession of the report produced by the team that examined the metadata on the iPhone that captured these photographs.
Yes, that is correct.
And if you'd look at page 41, please, is this part of the report?
Yes.
On page 41, on approximately lines 17 and 18,
Yes.
appear the words date, time, original. What is the date there?
The 23rd of September 2015.
And the date, time digitized?
The same date and the same time. The time was 10:37.06.
And then a little way down, we see next to the word flash, flash not fired, auto mode. Do you see that?
That's correct.
And then there are various other aspects of the metadata referred to in that report on that page.
That's correct.
But the lens model in the very last line appears to be a lens belonging to an iPhone 6. Correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Then if we go over the page, we see a metadata analysis in relation to location.
Yes, I do.
And the latitude and longitude coordinates of the place where the photograph or the photographs were taken, according to the report at least, appear.
That is correct.
And then there's a location map as part of the report on page 43.
That is correct.
That area there, do you know whether the Sheraton Hotel is in that area depicted on that photograph?
Yes, that is the area of the Sheraton Hotel. I can't quite make out the street name, the writing's a bit small, but the experts have told me that the location is in the vicinity of the Sheraton Hotel.
And again, direct evidence of that is available to the extent that it may be necessary, either for the Commission's own use and evidence before you, Chair, or for transfer to any appropriate law enforcement institution. If you go to page 30, please. There's an explanation. You will see there that the room number is 9066. Do you have any comment there?
I can't comment on that. The general manager has indicated in his affidavit that the room was 616.
And then there's arrival date 15 September and a departure date 5 October 2015. I'm sorry, not the 5th of... The arrival date is the 22nd of September 2015 and the departure date is the 5th of October 2015, which seems to differ from the affidavit which presumes that Ms. Mieni left on the 23rd. Do you have any comment in that regard?
Well, I think that the explanation for that is that the payment was received on the 5th of October 2015. The arrival date corresponds with what the General Manager has declared in his affidavit. And if you remember, he said that by looking at the invoice and the expenditures that were generated by the guest, they stopped on the 24th.
All the documents are consistent, however, that they insofar as they indicate that Ms. Mieni was there on the 23rd.
Yes.
Is there anything you wish to add to your statement?
No, other than that I do know that the digital forensic experts have prepared affidavits concerning the location and time of the photographs. Unfortunately, we didn't receive them in time.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dutton. Thank you for coming. You are excused.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chair, I'm not sure whether we will finish this witness's evidence in 5 minutes if you wish to take the long adjournment now. But the evidence is reasonably short, 10 to 15 minutes.
I think let's take his evidence.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
The next witness is Temba Patrick Mlambo.
Oath or affirmation.
What? Ah, yes, thank you.
Please state your full name for the record.
Temba Patrick Mlambo.
Do you have any objections to making the affirmation?
I don't.
Do you affirm that all the evidence you will provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If you do, please raise your right hand and say, I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Chair, the statement of Mr. Mlambo appears in Exhibit T8.
Yeah.
The last document in the bundle.
Yeah, I've got it.
Mr. Mlambo, the signature on page 3, above the words TP Mlambo, whose signature is that?
It is mine.
And the statement or affidavit at pages 1 to 3, is that your affidavit?
It is.
Are the contents of this affidavit, to the best of your knowledge, true and correct?
That is correct.
Just raise your voice a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Thank
Let
you.
me get closer.
Okay.
That is correct.
Perhaps you can
Chair.
speak closer to the microphone.
Will do.
Mr. Mlambo, you are an investigator employed by the State Capture Commission.
That is correct.
And you are working with the team together with Mr. Dutton and others.
That is correct, Chair.
In paragraph 2, you describe in general terms your duties as an investigator, and in paragraph 3, you refer to the investigation into allegations of possible wrongdoing by employees of the Bosasa group of companies. Do you see that?
I do see that, Chair.
You were part of the investigation team dealing with those issues.
That is correct.
You had dealings with Mr. LaRue, Mr. Richard LaRue, who testified here before the chair.
That is true.
And did you accompany Mr. LaRue in relation to any inspections during the course of your dealings with him and during the course of the investigations you conducted?
That is correct.
You deal with those in paragraph 5. Would you tell the chair, please, what you did together with Mr. LaRue?
I first met Mr. LaRue on Monday morning of 14 January 2019 in Krugersdorp.
Oh, we must correct that. So 2018 should be 2019?
2019, that is.
Okay.
Yeah, this was part of the investigation that I was conducting on matters relating to the allegations.
We know that Mr. LaRue has given evidence about a special project team tasked with installation of security equipment on various properties.
That is correct.
Right. Is it in relation to that evidence that you conducted your investigation about which you speak here in this affidavit?
Absolutely, Chair, absolutely.
Right. Please tell the chair what occurred and as referred to in paragraph 6.
Yeah, on this particular day, which was the morning, I requested Mr. LaRue.
Skipping the last half of paragraph 5.
Yes. Not sure it's necessary for him to place on record that information, Chair.
Okay.
No,
that's fine. I assumed there would be some relevance later, but it's okay if you don't think it is.
Not at this stage.
Yeah, okay. Okay, then you can continue on paragraph 6.
I'm sorry, Chair, I'm told that there's another correction that must be made. The date on page 1 of the affidavit in paragraph 4, 31 January 2018, should be amended to, I suppose, to 31 January 2019. Correct?
Correct, sir.
All right.
Correct.
Let's go then to paragraph 6 of your affidavit. You made a request to Mr. LaRue.
Yes.
What was that request?
The request was for him to point out the places where the special projects team did installations. And the purpose for this, more than anything, Chair, was to...
I guess that second sentence is probably supposed to be, it is to be noted that, rather than it be noted. I think that might have been what was confusing you.
Well,
right?
English is my third, if not fourth language.
No. I understand. I'm not criticizing you.
Absolutely.
I was just helping you. So, but would that be correct as far as you are concerned, if we say it is to be noted?
It is to be noted, Chairperson.
Okay. Thank you. You may proceed.
Mr. LaRue indicated to me that he could not recall in detail all the work that was done by a special projects team in all the work that they were doing. But to the extent that he could recall, he was going to take me through and indicate what work was done in the particular premises that it took me around to.
Right. And did he take you to various premises where he told you installations had been made by the special projects team of Bosasa?
Chairperson, he did take me through to 4 of the premises where the projects team did installations.
You describe 4 premises in subparagraph 6A, B, C, and D on page 2 and 3 of your statement.
That is correct.
Tell the Chair, please, to which addresses did Mr. LaRue take you, and what did he say to you in relation to those addresses?
The first address, Chairperson, was the address that he pointed out as that which is allegedly belonging to Ms. Mukonyane. In this particular address, or the premise, the team installed CCTV cameras according to him, and when we did inspection, he realized that the same cameras that the team installed were still in existence.
And that was in the inspection conducted in your presence?
In my presence. It was myself and Mr. Leroux in the car. We were just the two of us.
You then asked for assistance from other investigators in the State Capture Commission. What did you ask them to do?
I wanted them to verify ownership of the premises that were pointed out to, so that we could verify who those premises belong to.
How did you record the premises, the identity of the premises?
At the time, I noted the addresses, and I did not take photographs of the places because at that stage, in my opinion, it was still, a hearsay or an allegation that he did installations in those particular places.
But for your purposes,
yes,
you wanted to establish to whom the property to which you were taken belonged?
Yes, absolutely.
And did you ask for the assistance of further investigators in the Commission in this regard?
I did, Chairperson.
And what was the result of that investigation?
With respect to this particular address, we discovered, or it was established, that the property was registered in the names of Nomvula Paula Mukonyane and Abel Mantununu Mukonyane.
The next address...
I'm sorry, before you went there, or maybe let me rephrase and ask this. In taking you to this address that Mr. LaRue, that you say Mr. LaRue said is the residence of Minister Mukonyane, did he do so from his own memory, or did he have to get some aid to remember where exactly Ms. Mukonyane's residence was to be found?
He did all of this, Chairperson, out of his own memory, because it did indicate
out
to
of
me
his memory.
Out of his memory.
And is that the case with the other 3 residences that you are going to talk to us about as well?
That is true, Chairperson.
Thank you.
In summary, then, in relation to all the 4 properties referred to on pages 2 and 3 of your affidavit, Mr. LaRue took you to a site. He pointed out the site and building concerned. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And he told you that security equipment had been installed at that site by the Special Projects team of Bosasa. Is that correct?
That is correct.
The next address pointed out you deal with in paragraph 6B on page 2. Tell the chair of that, please.
This particular address, when we interrogated it, and also with the help of the team, we discovered that it belonged to Mr. Desmond Ne. And this address is in Pretoria. I will not disclose all the details of the addresses, but at best I will say it is in Pretoria.
Did it belong to only Desmond Ne?
It belongs to Desmond Ne and Pavalani Ne.
Once again, were you given any information by Mr. Leroux as to what the task team or the special projects team did at that site?
That is correct. According to him, he said that the team did installation of cameras, electric fence, and the beams. And from his observation, when I was with him, he indicated that all those still existed as he could see them.
The third site you deal with is referred to in paragraph 6C on page 3 of your affidavit. Once again, was a certain premises pointed out to you?
Yes, that is correct.
And what was told to you about any installation that might have taken place at those premises?
According to Mr. Leroux, the team installed full electric fence, the alarm system, the IP CCTV, the camera system. Those are the installations that were conducted by the team.
Were these installations visible at the time of pointing out by Mr. Leroux?
What was clear from his observation was that the cameras in this residence had been removed at the time. However, the electric fence that appeared at the time appeared to be the same one as that which was installed by the special projects team.
And this was stated to you, I presume, by Mr. Leroux at the time of the pointing out?
That is correct.
Yes. Did you ask for the assistance of the investigators in order to establish who owned the property at this address?
Chairperson, I did, and according to information that we could gather, it was established that the premises belonged to Samson Patache Makwetla and Kila Lia Makwetla.
Samson is spelled S-A-M-P-S-O-N. Patache is spelled P-H-A-T-H-A-K-G-E, and Makwetla M-A-K-W-E-T-L-A. Kela Lia is spelled K-E-L-A, new word L-E-A-H. Is that correct?
That is correct, Chairperson.
Right. The last premises visited?
The last premise visited belonged to Vincent G. Smith Family Trust.
Well, what did Mr. Leroux say to you?
According to Mr. Leroux, he observed that the camera at this particular address, the cameras rather, are different from the ones that his team installed. However, he further observed that what appears to be the same electric fence that was erected by the special projects team still existed.
Right. What did Mr. Leroux say about any original installation conducted by the special projects team?
Well, he did not have a comment on that particular one. Truth be told, I didn't ask him.
Well, look at the second sentence of your affidavit, if you would, in paragraph D, 6D.
Come again, Chairperson?
I ask you to look at subparagraph D on page 3 of your affidavit.
Yes.
Are you there?
I'm there.
Look at the second sentence. What does that say?
According to Mr. Leroux, the team installed the IP CCTV camera system and the electric fence.
Well, now, from your own recollection, what did Mr. Leroux say to you? Is that correct?
He said to me that the cameras appear to have been removed at the time. They were not the same cameras as the one that the special projects team had installed.
Yes, so that's consistent with what you've just told the chair. Thank you. But he said that the same electric fence that had been installed was still there.
Absolutely.
And did you ask for the assistance of the investigators in relation to establishing the ownership of that property?
Indeed, Chairperson. And according to the results of the search, it indicated that the property belonged to Vincent G. Smith Family Trust.
What did Mr. Leroux tell you? Who did Mr. Leroux tell you the property belonged to? Now leave out now what your fellow investigators found out when they assisted you, but what did he say? Who did he say to you the property belonged to?
Yeah. Chairperson, I think I need to elaborate a little bit on this.
Yes, do.
The purpose of the visit to the site predominantly was about the work that was done by the team, less about who the properties belong to. However, he did indicate to me that some of the places you got to know either later or at the time that they belong to, say, Vincent Smith or whoever. So that the point I'm trying to make, Chairperson, is that the visit was more about the work that the special projects team did in particular premises. Because on his own, I suppose he can't verify, unless, he knows for a fact.
Well, when he gave evidence, he was not saying definitely the properties belonged to the people that he mentioned. He was simply saying he had been told that the properties belonged to the people that he mentioned.
That is correct.
So it might not have been important to the investigators to find out, but I would like to know whether he mentioned to you in the course of pointing out, whether as at that time when he was pointing out the property, whether he told you who he understood the property to belong to.
That is correct, Chairperson.
He did?
He did indicate.
What did he say?
He did say that the property, in respect to this particular one, belonged to Mr. Smith.
Right.
Vincent Smith in particular.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. That is the evidence.
Thank you, Mr. Mlambo, for your evidence. You are excused.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Was that your last witness for the day?
Yes, Chair.
Mr. Pretorius. And we are not sitting tomorrow, isn't it?
We're not sitting tomorrow or Friday, Chair, and you had forewarned of an announcement last week.
Yeah. And we'll be able to resume on Monday, yeah?
Yes, Chair.
Yes. We are going to adjourn now. We are not going to sit for the rest of the week. One on Thursday is the opening of Parliament, and the leadership of the judiciary usually takes part in the judicial process, so that is where I will be required to be. But we will resume the hearings on Monday next week. We adjourn.
All right.